Welcome to another episode of The Brand Code You, a podcast and video show which brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, and experience from hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe so you won't miss a new episode. I'm your host, Fitch, and today I'm very happy to have a conversation with Daniel Fitch. Hey, Daniel, welcome to the program.
Hey Fritz, how are you today? Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Hey, Daniel, a quick intro for the audience about your background. 20 years experience in multimedia video production. And you are a visual storyteller. That's where you help people with, organizations with. And you are also the founder of the company Natural Leaders Media. Good.
Yes,
Again, welcome to the show.
thank you.
And um, when I was looking up Daniel Finch, just to do a little bit of a background check on who you are, I realized who is Daniel Fitch because there are over 100 profiles on LinkedIn. So I wasn't able to find, you could say, the right one initially. But how often do you get, how are people confused that they think you're a different Daniel Fitch than you really are?
Um, I've never had that happen. I've Googled myself.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow. So I understand what you're saying. You know, but no, I would say that hasn't happened to me, Fritz.
Okay. Not yet. Okay. Well, maybe it will happen after this call. We'll see. But yeah. So now you've been in the media business all your professional life, even started education. You graduated from Georgia State.
Yes, sir.
Could you take us a little bit along that journey? How did you end up where you are right now? And what
Mm.
decisions did you take to get there?
Yeah, sure. So yes, like you said, I'm a very visual person. When I hear stories or if we're in conversation, I automatically visualize it. Like just like you said, I went to LinkedIn, I had 100 Daniels. I just imagine a thread of 100 Daniel Fitches. And I'm like, wow, that's very interesting. But that's how my mind ticks. So going back to late 80s, early 90s, I there was a video show called Video Music Box. I'm originally
Yep.
from New Jersey, and Video Music Box. I'm getting to our older generation here, Fritz, but the Video Music Box, when you had a TV back in the day, it had UHF and VHF, right? So this
Yep.
thing came on UHF every Saturday, and it played all the latest hip hop tracks. Every time I looked and listened to these videos, I always wanted to match up the lyrics with the visuals.
Yep. Got that.
So if they say, "Oh, I'm walking down the street with my girlfriend," I expect the visual to see a man and a woman walking down the street holding hands or whatever that looks like. So when it didn't do that, it wouldn't digest right with me. And from that point, I told myself, I want to do that. I want to create stuff that tells the story authentically as it comes out, as the lyrics come out of this person, of the
Okay.
subject's
Yeah.
mouth. Um, but ironically, and I was also a hip hop MC or rapper at one point, and I still got some lyrics, but uh, that was really the drive. And then so we recorded some of our freestyle sessions and some tracks, and I had the 8 millimeter camera. Um, yeah, so it really started. I just love the visual side of things and capturing. I love capturing memories. My mother, before she passed, man, she has, man, hundreds of photo albums, like literally going back to the 60s and yeah, like the 60s, 50s even. Um, so those visual stories also I would say inspired me to get into video production and filmmaking, etc. Even though that wasn't my first option. My background is originally would say mortgages. I was a mortgage loan officer for
Oh, that's
15.
definitely
Right.
different. That's different.
Yeah. I mean, it's different, yes, absolutely. but it's not necessarily artistic, but it is in the vein of being an entrepreneur. I'm definitely a serial entrepreneur. So the mortgages led to flipping houses
Hmm.
and doing buying holds in the real estate market here generally in Atlanta, Georgia. So I made a ton of money, man, in my early 20s doing real estate, and that's what really led to purchasing equipment and kind of getting a little more serious and wanting to produce my own stuff once I had the resources
Yeah.
to go ahead and get a camera and things of that nature.
Okay. So it sounds like that at a certain point, the daytime job got switched to the nighttime job due to the extracurricular activity.
Well, the daytime job became a headache.
Yeah.
And I realized that what I was doing, I loved the money, but I didn't love it.
Okay.
There was a point in 2009. This was my turning point, Fritz. So in 2009, mid-December, my birthday is December 29th. So just use that for
Yeah.
context,
Yeah.
right? So mid-December, mortgage industry, I'm a top producing loan officer. Um, for a company that was pretty well known out here in Atlanta. And production meeting, let's just say this meeting is on the 15th of December. Production meeting, production manager decides to pick on Daniel Fitch. Daniel Fitch, before this production meeting, asked for said days off leading up to my birthday so I can have like the birthday all the way into New Year's. Just give me that whole time off. Production manager says, your numbers suck. You're not going nowhere unless you can close two deals before the end of the month. Highly unlikely, Fritz. Highly
Yeah.
unlikely. I had one deal in the pipeline that might have closed, but it's Christmas time. People check out, man. That industry is really at a lull, and that's also when the that mortgage crisis and everything out here was in play. So anyway, funny story. I go down to so after the meeting, I mean, he's leaning into me, Frizz. I mean, he's calling me out my name. It took everything in my power not to really say something back to him and be confrontational. Uh,
Um, the way you describe it, I think you're what you had in mind. I can imagine something here.
yeah. So I went back to my office after that meeting and cried like a little baby because I feel like I didn't stand up for myself. And then I had responsibilities.
Yeah.
I couldn't just quit. So I knew anything I said, if I quit, then that's a whole nother storm of things that can come from that. So it's like, all right, bro, just suck
Uh,
it up. Da, da, da.
okay. Now, if somebody tells you your numbers suck, was there like a core of truth, or was she just trying out to get you?
At that point in the game, in the fiscal year, everybody's numbers sucked.
Good. Yeah. Oh, fair
So
point. Okay. No,
it wasn't, I wasn't far off from the top producers. There's a
fair
caveat
enough.
to the
Okay.
story as well. This caveat to this story that I found out after was like these guys, my manager was filtering leads.
Uh,
So this was a very inbound market lead driven. So people are calling in
yeah. Yeah.
saying they want a mortgage. So those are what we call hot leads, right? So I was getting no hot leads, unbeknownst to me. I found out after I was let go that that was going on by the secretary, Faja. She's like, yeah, he was filtering those leads to
Okay.
everybody else. So I didn't have a fair chance to really excel
Yeah.
with them. All my leads came from referrals.
Good. I think where you're getting to, I can understand once you find that out, you want to get out of there. Did you make that decision on your own? Did you consult people? If yes, who were they? Who did you talk to?
Me and God. So there was no to answer that
Yeah.
straightly. And to get to the point of this story, after that meeting, I went to the lunch cafeteria. I bit down on a piece of turkey gristle, cracked my back tooth. So now I have the nerve out there in the air. I'm feeling the air. I went, got it pulled, came back, sold the deal. Well, took an application with cotton in my mouth and went home, right? That night or going into the morning, the Novocaine wore off. I was in crucial pain that morning. I call out of work, right? So now, time the pain kind of subsides. I call in. I'm checking on my deal with the assistant manager, who was getting filtered leads, by the way. And I'm like, Tommy, what's going on? How's my Smith deal going? Blah 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 blah. He's like, Daniel, did you talk to Anthony? I'm like, no, I'm calling you. You're my assistant manager. Blah blah blah. He's like, yeah, man, you really need to say. Very nervous. Really need to talk to Anthony. Really need to talk to Anthony, man. But I gotta go. I gotta go. Bang, bang, hang up. I'm like, wow. Call Anthony. Now I know the system up there, they see my name when I call.
Yeah.
So that, he's not picking up. So finally the secretary told me, he's like, hey Daniel, I don't know what's going on, but you're not in the system anymore, et cetera, et cetera. Next day I come into work, walk past the manager's office, I see a box, I see all my stuff. But at that point, Fritz, it's like it was a sigh of relief. And also turned into a blessing in disguise. I was let go. But I was able to get unemployment to kind of hold me over. And that summer, I enrolled at Georgia State University. And th from that moment on, when I saw my stuff on the floor, I said, I'm not doing anything in my life anymore that I don't love or have a passion for, and I'm going to make it pay for me.
Okay, so that suggests that a milestone in your life doesn't have to always be a positive milestone. It can also be a negative milestone, which forces your hand and allows you to trigger a change.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah,
it definitely did. It definitely put
yeah,
Well, I have to give a lot of credit to Georgia State University
yeah,
and their campus and the my other
yeah.
students and things of that nature. I was an older guy, I think I was 36, uh, walking around campus, and just that energy of those millennials, the younger people, was different, man. They're just different. Um,
I was wondering, because you mentioned your mother passed away. At the time, was your mother still alive? And did she appreciate the move you made?
she was still alive, yes. She passed in 2021. Good catch. So I absolutely, so yes, I definitely consulted in her at that
Yeah,
time.
yeah. Because I
Um,
can imagine, hey, as a parent, hey, your kids has a cushy job. They don't know the ins and outs of what's happening. Why do you all of a sudden want to trade your cushy job for, you could say, going back to college and doing something which, who knows where this is going to lead to?
who
So,
knows?
was it a tough discussion, or was she supportive when you told her, "Hey, what's happening?"
Oh, very, 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 extremely supportive.
Yeah, because I mean,
Um,
actually, I expected that because you described somebody who was telling visual stories in her way of all the thousands of pictures you were talking about. So I can assume that, and probably your mother knows you best. Also, I'm seeing somebody right now who is a natural storyteller. You are telling a story right now rather than just describing what happened, which yeah, I can appreciate.
yeah, yeah. So no, mom's, yes, she was extremely supportive and everything. Uh, I do and did, you know, yeah, yeah.
Good.
Just makes me think.
Yeah. No, it's good to be aware where sometimes where decisions come from. Um, hey, I want to move on to a couple of things which I've noticed in when I was talking, looking you up. First of all, I've noticed that what I appreciated is you you're very prolific in writing and sharing your information, your knowledge online.
Thank
like
you.
one of the reasons, turning your smartphone into a pro camera.
Mm.
Um, Given the fact that you also have a video producing company, telling others how they could do it themselves, isn't that a little bit undermining your own organization? Or what's the reason you want to share that?
Mm. Great question. I look at the analogy of teaching somebody how to fish.
Got it. Yep.
Uh, Through my case studies and research, most people can't afford my services, but most people sincerely want to tell their
Yep.
story. Um, there was a movie, it's missing me right now, but anyway, there was a movie that I watched that I enjoyed, and they shot the whole movie on an iPhone. And I just thought I was like, wow, you can do that? And then just started thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, actually you can, because everybody's phone is actually a camera,
Yeah.
right? But the functionality with everybody's primary usage of their phone is
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
But I would say generally speaking, most people use their phone as a phone, not a camera. When we think of these phones as cameras, and their functionalities and the capacity that they actually have, you can shoot high quality content
Yeah.
with your I don't care what kind of smartphone that you have. Most of these smartphones at least have 1080p, which is a nice
Yeah.
quality resolution.
Yeah. And
Um,
and it's also, I think, an example of a tool, a fool with a tool is still a fool in the sense that if you don't know how to use it, it's not going to help.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's a wake up call from those individuals that think what we do is easy. So when we start
Yeah.
really getting into the nuts and bolts of creating content, and you see these light bulbs go off in people's heads, like, oh wow,
Yeah.
oh wow,
Okay.
I got to do all that. You know what? Maybe I will just hire you.
Yeah. Good.
You
Okay.
know,
Well, before we go into that, because also the name of your company makes me very curious, I briefly want to ask you to describe what is a good visual story. Do you have, does it have like standard elements, or is that difficult to predict up front?
Mm. Wow, another good question. Yes, yes, there are basics, obviously, with a story, visual storytelling without any audio. There's still a beginning, middle, end to it. There's always going to be some level of a structure, even if it's a 30-second or 60-second video. You can see an intro,
Hmm.
I want to catch your attention some kind of way, stimulation in the first 5 seconds while you're up from I want to give you something else to think about
Okay.
visually.
So when somebody comes up, sorry, I'm not letting you finish. I assume there are more elements in there. Good, but I have so many questions on this. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. Movement,
Yeah.
emotion, definitely emotion, definitely emotion. You know, the story is told by your shots and your angles. If I'm here, this is going to give you a different feel,
Yeah.
right? If I'm talking to you here, or from way back here, you're gonna all of that makes a difference in how you tell the story. So if you're zooming in, I'm zooming in straight, on your face, like, yeah, we kind of did this, right? Like this is
Yeah.
a well, Fritz, that's gonna give you're getting ready, like, oh wow,
Oh yeah.
what's it?
Yeah. Something's happening. This is out of the ordinary. It's not what I expect. So hey, what's happening? Why is this there? And
Right.
that's basically what you're doing. Because uh, one of the questions I had is a story something which I would say, as a sculptor, you start to
Mhm.
chip away from what you see, or is it something? It's like an epiphany. Or I know what the story is. This is how it's going to look like. Does it vary per case? So, how does a story get developed?
Well, it starts with the idea, and it also it depends on what if it's for, let's just say it's for a brand, right? Let's just use my friend and client now is who I met via Silver Lining, Chatham Natural Skincare. So I'm doing a
Yeah,
recurring content campaign for her. Her skincare brand relieves eczema. So now, how do I tell this story visually and push her brand, right? So when that's from the beginning, you know, if it's an event, right? Event recap. How am I telling the story? Like just like I'm doing a mini documentary on Silver Lining's 20th anniversary.
good.
So even with that, it started out as information and brainstorming, right? We have what is the problems with small businesses today globally, right? That's the overarching that's the problem, right? So now in my mind, I have to find solutions visually to solve this problem, which is also in a story. So to answer your question, is very nuanced on how there's no one way to tell the story. You
Okay, but
know,
there's also no way. There's no one way how it gets developed.
no,
Okay.
no, because
Oh,
it's very organic.
yeah,
The only thing that's probably for certain is beginning, middle, end.
yeah. Okay, got that. Um, Hey, quick question. So much to learn from you. By the way, why did you call your organization Natural Leaders Media? What's the
Mm,
reason behind that name?
yeah. So natural is financial freedom, right? Abundance. In most religious texts, they say we're supposed to be living in abundance, right? So that's that. I feel like we're naturally all abundant, no matter race, ethnicity, etc. Because we all hit the lottery, right? We're all here. We all were born, right? The odds of a embryo being born and get to this are so we're already special. Anybody that's walking around here and living life, you made it. Right?
Good.
You made it.
Yeah, like that.
You're here. So that is natural. So they're saying that in most religious texts, they say, yes, supposed to be living in abundance, right? Blah. So that's that. Leaders, which is also kind of in the same vein, is that everybody has a level of greatness to them, period. Whether you realize it or not, the aforementioned thing I just said about being born, you're here, so you're great. You beat the odds. You're a human being. You're living on this earth. Whether your time here is tumultuous or great, that's up to you.
Okay, and is
But
leader also a term in cinematography? Like that's the trailer of a small film, like a video clip, a small leader.
uh,
Okay, maybe I'm mistaken there. No, but no, continue.
no, no, no. Leader in that sense of the word is just that you have greatness within you. Everybody has their uniqueness about them. And that's just me and a leader. And then in my community, the black community, there's a trope that we don't have any leaders, right? Since Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, black people don't have leaders. That's the trope. But I'm here to say that no, that's a misnomer. I'm a leader.
Hmm.
My wife's a leader. You're a leader. Like there's people here that are leaders that just are not out their shell. Their story has not been told. Nobody knows. And that takes me to media, which is spread love for me, right? So I want to make sure I spread the proper narrative, especially about my community, and also the proper narrative that what I'm going through. Like
Yeah.
if you see a lot of my content, I tend not to sugarcoat um, the ups and downs.
Okay, was it by design that you're able to tell such a great story about the name of your company? Was that by design, or was it more
I would say
intentional?
no, no, because people don't. I can't say people don't like the name, but it wasn't. in my opinion, the name doesn't necessarily ring. You have different names, studios, and they kind of have this,
Yeah,
you know, mine again is uh, people ask me, but I love explaining it because it has a meaning to me.
yeah. I got that. Okay. Hey, a couple of questions, Daniel. I just wanted to know, first of all, where do you draw inspiration from in your work?
Hmm. You know, the fact that I'm chasing financial freedom at this point, I love what I do, especially when I log on. I'm human just like everybody else. I have procrastination issues and things of that nature. But 9 times out of 10, once I log on and get going, I can flow, you know. And yeah, I want the best for my daughter. I have an 8-year-old daughter.
Great.
Uh,
Yeah,
I mean, I'm a spoiler, but if she asks me for something, I want to be able to get it, period. So that drives me to push this company to the maximum to really earn. This is a vehicle that I can create generational wealth and, and stop the ups and downs of this entrepreneurial struggle, which is it's hard, man. It's hard to run a business. I'm a solo entrepreneur for the most part. So yeah, I think that's that. Not I think that's where my inspiration comes from, and creating art. Like I'm another Ryan Coogler in my mind.
yeah,
I'm not the next Ryan Coogler. I'm another. So um, if he could do it, I could do it.
yeah.
I
By
have
the way,
stories.
I heard the name before, but for the audience, who's he?
Ryan Coogler is a producer director. He directed the Black Panther
Yeah.
franchise. So, those both of those films went over 1 billion in sales. And he's also the writer director of Sinners. I don't know if you saw that yet, but um yeah, and he started with the film called Fruitvale Station, which is an independent film um that he just made, and the story has it his girlfriend or something had to loan him money and he's living in his car. So like I understand and relate to all those
Yeah. So
things, man. I
is
lived
it,
in my car for 3 months.
um, would you qualify him as one of your role models?
I would say more peer. I'm
Okay.
definitely old. I'm older than him.
Okay. Well, true. Um, Hey, now you've mentioned discuss okay how you move from say from one industry to a different industry. The fact that you were forced to do something else. What were the was to what extent was it for you a bumpy road once you made that decision? And what were the big bumps and what did you learn from them?
Perseverance, resilience, patience, uh, never give up, confidence, do the work, um, steadfastness, learning to listen, um, belief in myself and my abilities and my intelligence. These are all the elements that while I was in school at Georgia State that I picked up.
Okay.
Um, because I'm living with roommates. Again, like I told you, I'm late 30s at this point. So a lot of my peers, they're off into their careers and being successful and stuff like that. And I'm
Well, how do you find this? I mean, you've alluded a little bit to that, but what's your definition of success? When are you success? Is that the generational wealth you mentioned, or does it also have other elements?
yes. It's definitely generational wealth, and it's also just being able to handle your expenses with no problem. So that may not be generational wealth, but if every day if I'm calling Capital One to set up a payment arrangement and la 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 la, just to kind of keep a management, that's a stressor.
Mhm.
Uh, so once that is secured, I feel like that's success. I've been there already. I've tasted it, like I said, in my mid 20s into my early 30s. Um, I was very successful in the real estate, doing real estate and things of that nature. So this is a different grind. Um, but it has a different level of fulfillment as well. So I do get fulfillment in helping people tell their story, even if, some of the rates that I get from these people are not, substantial. you know, uh, so that level of fulfillment and the enjoyment that I get when I say, "Here, Fritz, here's your final version." Daniel, this is great. This is amazing. That right there is compensation that I can't put a value on.
But
It
I think
just
everybody listening to this understands what you mean by that. Hey, one last question before we have to go, unfortunately. What advice would you give young managers? You actually summed up already quite a nice list of what helped you to get where you are, but what was the key, I would say the top three things you have, this is something you would advise young people out there?
two things. One, try not to get caught up in the work, meaning uh you got clients that you're doing work for. Make sure you mix in work for yourself. Like I have a bunch of passion projects that have been on my hard drives. I got stacks of hard drives here, right? This is this is all content. This is all valuable content, right? And it's like sometimes I just can't get to it because I have your work, I have your project, I have somebody else's project. No, you got to do a better job with time management. Or it's like, you know what? I'm gonna work on my Globetrotter series an hour a day. So trying to be organized with your time management to make sure you're doing things that are fulfilling you. You got to go ahead and handle the client. Yes, that's what pays you, but don't forget about yourself and the artist that's in you. Most people that do what we do are a level of an artist. And if you are in production, keep shooting.
Yeah,
You have equipment, you have a phone, you have a camera. Keep shooting. Don't wait. Oh, I want to wait till I get the red camera or this camera. And no, go with what you got. Go with what you got and make it work.
great advice. So, time management, go with what you got.
Absolutely.
Great.
I'll go
Hey,
with
that's
those.
great advice, Daniel. Hey, I want to thank you for sharing your story on the brand called you. You've, in my perception, created a great company for yourself, and you are a natural storyteller. So I can very much understand why people want to work with you and give them your work, producing awesome videos. I've seen a couple and they're great. So, Daniel, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome, Fritz. Thank you for having me. It's an honor. When I met you at Silver Lining, I was like, this guy you have a different swagger about you, man. So I'm glad that we were able to connect on LinkedIn and make this happen. So thank you.
Hey, my pleasure, my honor. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the brand called You.